Okay, do you see Mark?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Mark Skelton, N7CTM. I'm here at the, we'll call it the RMHAM studio with John Maxwell.
Good morning.
And it's good to be here today. Normally, I'm on the other side of the camera. I think I must have a face for radio, but decided to come out and help John with the presentation. It's going to be a little different. I mean, it's not specifically radio related, but John and I and the team have been spending quite a bit of time with the RMHAM University and the presentations. We kind of started with the very first one. We had a hybrid that we did in Firestone, and we had a lot of equipment, and we actually had people in the audience, and so we had to have the video, and so people could see each other, and also the audio. And we've come a long way since then. I know we've got 20 minutes or so for this presentation, but John and I have spent countless hours working through some of the software that John will talk about on the Open Broadcaster software. There's a lot more to it. We've had to refine some of the video, some of the audio. We're working on lighting and green screens, and it just seems to be something that continues, and we're continuing to learn. Normally, we have three of us kind of behind the cameras and the controls. We'll show you some of that, but this morning it's just John and I, and we don't have some of the splash screens and some things that we would normally do from here at the studio. But we'll kind of show you some of the things that we've been playing with and get to the presentation. And I'll turn it over to John.
Okay, good morning, everybody. John Maxwell, W0VG. And bring up the presentation here so you can start seeing exactly what we got. Everybody got the presentation on their screens? Somebody shake their head. Yep, got a thumbs up from Chris. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So what we attempted to do here is we tried to make this so that it's simple for all hams to learn exactly the tricks of the trade as to how to do presentations for the web, to be able to add cameras and all the little toys necessary on a cheap budget to be able to do this. And so you ask, why do we need to do this? You can just hook a camera up to Zoom and click it, and it comes on. Well, that's fine if you want to do one single camera, but when we try to do Rocky Mountain Ham University, we have all of the cut-ins and things. Like here, I'll show you exactly what we've got going here. This is Mark's phone, which is off to the right, and here's my phone with Mark standing behind me. It's a little hard to do that with regular Zoom. You can't just go back and forth between the stuff. It's pretty tricky to do that. So in order to make this stuff all happen and make it look good and work on the first try, make it easy to operate and cheap, because, well, hams are cheap and we all know that. So in order to be able to do that, we're using a tool called Open Broadcaster Software, OBS. It's very, very popular out on the net. It's free, and it makes it a lot simpler for us to be able to do this. In order to be able to make all of this stuff happen, inserting cameras, inserting audio, inserting videos, or other people remotely, this tool just allows you to do it without any tricks. Commercial tools are fine. They're very expensive. And being very expensive generally brings it out of the realm of ham radio operators. We like cheap, and that's not a bad thing. We had a few needs. We needed to be able to Zoom, live stream classes to Zoom and YouTube Live We're not doing YouTube Live today because this is multiple people in multiple locations, and that gets actually pretty tricky to handle all of that stuff. We needed to be able to do the multiple cameras easily and simply on our regular Zoom, and the regular Zoom doesn't really allow you to do that. The high-end packages will let you do it, but you're looking at several $100s a month in order to be able to do that. And, you know, we're hams. We don't really have that kind of budget to do it. In order to record the high-quality video, we needed to come up with a way to actually be able to do that. And OBS gave us the ability to do all of this stuff in a free piece of software. And it needed to be operable by any of our team members, very simply by pushing buttons. The OBS software, this is what I'm looking at here right now. And let me switch over to Mark's camera here so you can see exactly what we're looking at. Here's Mark's camera. Well, yeah, that's Mark's camera. Let me switch to mine. This is the one that's behind me. What we've got on the screen here is exactly the Open Broadcaster software. And that's what's right here in front of me. In order to be able to control this, we take all of the inputs and we put them down here in the lower left-hand corner in what's called scenes and sources. Each of those locations give you the ability to actually manage cameras and control what's actually happening from second to second. It's just like running a Super Bowl. You know, you start pushing the buttons. Director, cut to the other camera. Okay, so we cut to the other camera, and you can see as I push this button right here at my right index finger, you can switch between the cameras. This device right here is called an Elgato Stream Deck. And what this allows you to do is program up the various buttons on the display to do certain things. And it is much simpler to be able to use this tool than it is to have to go up here on the screen with your mouse and choose in this window all of the different devices. So the Elgato Stream Deck, just by pushing a button, gives you the ability to very simply select a different camera. Anybody at any time can very easily do this. And as long as you have them set up correct on the front end, it just sort of works. This is an invaluable tool. It's not very expensive. It's a couple of $100s, and it definitely makes it a whole lot easier to do that than to try to select anything else with the mouse. As you can tell, I just did that with the mouse, and it's pretty clumsy. You have to hit a bunch of different things in order to be able to do that. Every button can be programmed to do a function or a scene. It's a very, very, very nice time saver. Not expensive, and it makes it look a whole lot more professional. Another thing that you're going to find is having more monitors gives you the ability to do a lot more stuff. The more monitors you have, the easier it is to be able to put the elements of the presentation on the screen. And you'll see up above here, this monitor up above is actually what's going out to you. Over here to the left is the presentation that we're using. Down here below on the left is our camera outputs, and those are the actual real-time cameras. They're called multi-view. It's preview, so you can actually see what it's doing. Our audio is being juggled by this panel up here to the upper left, which is actually, as you can see it up here, barely, is the that is actually the mixer console. That's so that we can manage the microphone that I have here in front of me, which is a Heil microphone. Thanks, Bob Heil. And the one that Mark has is a wireless Shure microphone, and it's managed by up here in front of the monitors, the Shure microphone receivers, and those are patched into the mixer. The more stuff that you can see on the screen, the easier it makes it on you. The more monitors you have, the easier it is. In this case, we have two very large widescreen monitors, and those widescreen monitors give us the ability to see a whole lot more stuff in a whole lot less space. And you can see it right here. Mark is showing it. These are actually a single monitor. These are 37 inches wide. And yes, it takes up a lot of screen real estate on the desktop, but without it, it's very hard to manage all of this stuff to try to actually get the presentations together. What's needed to run a show? First off, you have to have a copy of OBS on your computer. You need to set up a few scenes. And when I say scenes, those scenes are actually on your computer with various different things. And if you take a look here, I will show you exactly what I mean. We can actually take the video that we're using, and I can move me around on the screen. We could actually go split screen like you see right here, and we could actually put something in the window on the right. We can actually do graphics and overlays and certain things. Let me show you an overlay here. Here's an overlay that we've done with me on a camera with another camera overlaid on it. This is very simple to do, just takes multiple cameras. Not very challenging to try to do it. It's actually probably one of the simplest things with this piece of software in order to be able to do this. Doing any presentation that you're going to do using this tool, it's much easier than just being able to manipulate this stuff any other way. You cannot do this natively in Zoom. You need to have a good internet connection. One stream right now is about 5 megabits outbound. If you have two streams, say you're sending one to Zoom and one to YouTube Live, that's double. That would be 10 megabits of outbound. So a regular internet connection on a DSL is probably not going to be sufficient to be able to manage all of this stuff. You have to have a Zoom account, and I would highly recommend a paid Zoom account because non-paid Zoom accounts shut off after 45 minutes. You need a YouTube creator account if you're trying to stream to YouTube. And you also need to make sure that you're allowed for streaming. It's not an instant process. You need to set it up and test it. I would do some dry runs to make sure that it actually works. You can also record locally just with the click of a button on OBS, do recording, and it's high definition recording. Whatever you're putting in, it's going to record. The video most of the time is 1920 by 1080, and that's pretty typical 1080p. Most any camera will work. A Logitech 1080p webcam is a great tool. Not very expensive. It's good for one person. It makes it a whole lot easier to be able to do this stuff. We use iPhone cameras here, and I'll have Mark show you a picture of exactly what we got here. You'll see right up here in front. It's simply an iPhone camera on a tripod running a tool called NDI HX camera. It's $20 on an iPhone. I don't know if they have one for an Android device, but it's a fairly inexpensive solution. Gives you really high 4K video, and it's very, very simple to use. The higher the resolution that you put in, the better the resolution that comes out. That's very important. You don't want it to look really crappy and have very low resolution input. Then you're going to be looking at the screens going, what does that say? Higher resolution is always better. Most every high definition stream that you see on YouTube is 1920 by 1080, which is 1080p. And up here to the right, you can see on this tripod that's up to the right of Mark here, there's actually a 4K camera. This is a Sony 4K camera on a tripod. Come right a little more there, Mark. That Sony 4K camera is way overkill for what we're trying to do. But the video quality of what we're using is pretty much paramount. And if you pan around to the right, you'll see that we've built a little bit of studio here. And this is in Willem's office down in Lakewood. We've got lighting. We've got a refrigerator.
Have you left any room for Willem?
Willem doesn't use this office anymore. He lives at home.
Oh, okay.
And you'll notice that there's a black wall here. Take a look at this. Let me bring my camera up normally here as soon as I find it. We've got chroma key on all of these, Mark. See if I can find one here that doesn't have chroma key turned on. So the situation that we have is we're using the chroma key. There's actually a green screen in here. And what you see is black in here. Come right a little bit more, Mark, so that we can see the wall. You'll notice that the wall there is white, and then where it turns black right in the middle of the screen is actually a green screen. We've actually built this in here so that we can very easily do all of the itty bitty pieces, and we can actually interject backgrounds over the top of this very simply. We can make it look like he's standing in front of a bookcase or standing at a radio site just by the click of a button.
And this is one of our fairly new things that we've added. It's still a work in progress. We've been trying to find somebody to come down with an iron and help us out. We're learning a lot about lighting. And so again, this is a work in progress.
It's very challenging to try to do green screen. Green screen is one of the hardest things to try to do. And the reason that it's hard to do is that that green screen actually has to be perfect. And you'll notice the shot that Mark's got right here is actually the presenter view. He's looking at a very large screen, and the director station, which I'm sitting at talking from. We can actually hear your conversation on the speakers that are in this room if you talk to us. And you can hear us through the microphones that we all have. Yes, it looks like a rat's nest, but it wouldn't be a ham project if it didn't look like a rat's nest, right? Most of the important things that we try to do up here are make it look fairly seamless to you. One of the things that you have a hard time trying to do is we have a hard time trying to bring in callers remotely. And one of the things that we're able to do with this tool is you can run Skype on the same computer. Skype is free, and Skype allows you to take all of the individual callers and insert them into your presentation with the click of a button with a tool called NDI. And NDI is made by a company called NewTek, and they've done video since the early 80s, and they started on a computer called an Amiga, Commodore Amiga. Well, they decided to get into professional video in a big way, and NDI is really the way that everything is starting to go. And one of the things that you'll start to see is that because we have the ability to do the NDI video, we're able to take the cameras seamlessly and bring them into a presentation, as well as remote callers with Skype. If any of you have seen the Rocky Mountain Ham University, we bring Jeff Ryan in the mornings to introduce it via Skype, and then we switch back to Zoom regularly. Zoom is working on this functionality too, but they are only going to do it on their higher end packages, and it's pretty expensive. Well, Microsoft Skype, they do it for free, and you can crop out pretty much anything on it, including their watermark. No big deal. And you can add them to a scene so that you can click on a button and it just works normally. That's very handy with the fact that we hams really need to be able to do this stuff and keep the prices down. That's how we're able to do a lot of this. So we want to bring it all together. Any Zoom account will work, but only the commercial packages and webinar licenses have unlimited functionality and aren't limited on time. A little bit of time building scenes for each camera and ensuring that the video overlays are always working properly and that you have clean audio, and that pretty much it just sounds good. Do plenty of dry runs and make sure you have a critical eye. You want it to look good going in. If it doesn't look good or sound good, it's not going to be good when you actually get there. Use good audio sources. In our case, we're using commercial Shure microphones. The microphone that I'm using is a Heil microphone. What is the actual model? PR781. It's a very directional mic, just like you would use in your ham shack. Always use the audio in and out from your main Zoom computer. Never, never, never use a second computer or an iPhone. Never have the audio on from another device, or you'll get massive echo. We have other computers here in the studio connected to this Zoom stream so that we can see what it's doing, but the audio is turned off on those streams. It's ugly when you turn them on. You got to make sure that you shut that stuff off, or it'll just drive you crazy. So try to use as much high-end stuff as you can. The Heil microphone that I'm using is very high-end. If the audio sounds bad, you're not going to want to watch the video. The stuff we use, the Shure lavalier microphones and the handheld microphones, we're using a Behringer XR16 that looks just like this picture here in our rack. And we're capturing any HDMI video coming out of cameras and out of computers with these $24 HDMI video capture cards on Amazon. They're very inexpensive. And if anybody has any questions about where to get or what to get, I can certainly help you. If you have questions or would like to send it to us afterwards, I'm going to try to have this presentation cut down and on the website probably within the next day, as well as all the rest of the presentation that you're going to see today. Feel free to pop up, unmute your microphone, and ask questions now. I know that this is a bit tricky and it's a bit like drinking from a fire hose, but anything that you want to know about this stuff, we can certainly help you shortcut it. And there's never any stupid questions with this stuff, because it is definitely not intuitive and it's not something that hams normally do on a normal process. So feel free to drop a line or whatever you